My guest, Ulrich Pillau, today from Apaleo. Thanks for joining, Uli.
Great to be here. Thanks for the invite, then.
And you've been taking the train from Munich to Berlin, and you're on time. I think it deserves a shout out for the German train company because they are getting bashed a lot. I think that's amazing that you made it in time to our show here.
Yeah, a positive result this morning. Funny enough, the train was longer than expected, usually because it was kind of 5 hours ride, but the 5 hours ride was then on time. So all good.
Perfect. So what I love to do, and I know a little bit, obviously, about you because we've been in touch for quite some time, but I think I don't know the full story. So I love to start with hearing your story, and not only the Apaleo story, maybe before that, because I think you've been in the industry for a long time. You're doing quite a lot of stuff. You have a lot of experience. So if you just like give us your red line in life until the foundation of Apaleo, and then we talk more about Apaleo.
Sure, absolutely. So originally, I'm actually a hotelier, so I come from a hotel background. Have done many years ago a hotel apprenticeship, actually here in Berlin at the Intercontinental, which at the time was the biggest hotel in Germany in the these 90s. In parallel, I did a hotel school, so the typical start of a hotel career. But then relatively early on, after having spent 11 countries, a career as a hotelier working for some of the big brands, I switched to actually technology startup. So, and since then, I'm doing nothing else than startup. We did the first PMS, property-based on a PC network in the world, which was called Fidelio at the time, which was founded by Dietmar Müller and Keith Green. So I spent over 10 years building up that company with them around the world, which was a very exciting time. At the time, we didn't call it startup, but it was in fact a startup. And since then, actually, I'm specialized in hotel technology. So I did run ideas for 12 years. I took them from no hotels to today, 10,000 of hotels. I think there are 40,000 by now. We then did a PMS, cloud PMS, at the same time as people such as Muse and others came onto the market. So around 2010, 2011. And subsequently, we founded Apaleo in 2017, learning from our mistakes from the past. So we committed a lot of mistakes and learned a lot from those mistakes.
Wow, quite amazing. It's like I think that helps a lot. For me, for example, I always still struggle in the industry because I'm not from this operator background. Like you have both the technology and the operator. I only have the technology piece, and so I have to talk to operators like you to give me the insights of how to operate a hotel and what's missing and what are the use cases there. So big USP, I think, for you for the Apaleo story as well.
Yeah, also you have to say that since my hotel times, the way of operating hotels and hotel brands has changed quite significantly. And that's actually where we always kick in with Apaleo, because you can operate hotel brands today in a very digital, online, modern way compared to the old style of operating hotels. I don't think it applies to everybody. When you look at the deluxe sector, five-star Mandarin Orientals of this world, they have very service-oriented procedures and operations. But there are lots of hotel chains that actually have changed over time and operate entirely differently today.
And so tell me, 2070, you said you learned from your mistakes, and there were many, and that's why you founded Apaleo. So what's the founding kind of moment or the thesis of Apaleo? Why did you start it? What mistakes were you trying to not to do again?
So I think previously what we are trying to do is really move the PMS into the cloud. So instead of sitting on premise or in hosted environments, we created a cloud native PMS. But we realized already after a short time that actually a PMS can never be the solution to all of the problems we are having in this industry. So a PMS remains a PMS. And when you look at the world today and all of the players that you have around, regardless whether they are in US or in Europe, they are all in one PMSs still today. And automatically, when you are moving a PMS and start being an all-in-one PMS, You are developing your own modules, components, apps. You're starting to acquire companies, put products together, try to interface or integrate them. And that the result is always the same. You prefer your own solutions, you limit third-party apps. The hotel brands cannot freely select what they want to run as a tech stack, and they are limited in many cases to what your all-in-one PMS proposes. And so when we learned this and talked and discussed it internally, we came to the idea that only an open platform, a truly open platform, would mean the answer to the technology issues of today's world. And that's why we started Apaleo.
And so let me double click on this. Like, what's in the core? What's the main thing that you think like the PMS should do? And then what do you think is not core outside?
Right. I think the answer to that is really that you have to completely do it on a new technology architecture. And the technology we are using is called API first. So it is all in a platform. All the functions, features, data we provide is really in the background, in the backend platform, and it's a transactional platform. So in the platform, we do very well what any accommodation provider in this world needs. Reservations, inventory, availability, prices, financial transactions, payments, and some other things which are all sitting in the core. However, API first means that actually 100% of the functionality and the data we have in the platform can be used by the outside world and third parties. And that's always the case because we never develop in a PMS piece or in any kind of a software piece. We always develop into the platform. And from a moment a function, feature, functionality is in the core platform, anybody outside, any app that's there can use it. And that actually goes as far as also our own PMS app, which always comes with the platform, is using the same API platform as anybody else. So in essence, it means before actually we can develop anything in the PMS app, it needs to be sitting in the platform. And it also allows, which we have seen in a few cases, that actually hotel brands or anybody actually can develop a PMS on top of the platform as well, because the functionality is available to anybody. So we have some operators that said, actually, your PMS app is not what we need or want because our USPs are completely different. We need something much smaller for a different market segment. And so it's really API first, and it's a true platform. We would never develop apps or modules or components ourselves. We leave this innovation really to the outside world.
So basically you have let's call it a back end type of that you enable that sits an API on top of it. And then you have a front end, which you call the Apaleo app. So the Apple app is being used by the operator, right? The hotel operators. And that's the UI that they are using, correct?
Correct.
And then what else is being touched? So where else do you develop something that is being touched by anyone else than the operator and the app? Do you have anything else that either the guest sees or other people interact with, or is it just the app and nothing else?
It's the app and the platform behind, but really nothing else at all. So anything you can imagine a hotel brand needs to operate their properties, guest journey, CRM, CDP, distribution, channel management, revenue management, is always being developed by third parties. That's what we call our ecosystem. It's a two-sided marketplace with over 300 apps, from the very big ones down to very small, innovative apps that are coming on the market to a constant basis. We do the back-end platform, transactional platform with everything which is sitting in there, and that's then being exposed to everybody outside. One of the biggest advantages, there are lots of advantages. One, it's fully self-service, both for hotels as well as for app developers. So anybody can get onto it and without even talking to us can do their own things. And also, because it's a platform, it's also valid for any accommodation provider. So obviously our first customers were hotel groups and hotels, but then we are in use by senior living, student accommodation, campings, name it. Any accommodation provider that wants to have a platform can use the platform, and the customization always happens on top of it and not within the platform. And the customization can happen through apps, third-party apps that are being developed, or actually proprietary developments. So we have lots of our customers that have access to digital agencies or developers or have their own IT departments, and they can develop anything on top of Apaleo they want.
So basically you're a little bit like an Android system versus versus the apples, maybe the where you said the more closed shops. I don't know if the comparison is correct, but it's like at least directionally correct, probably. How do you compare that to other PMSs that you see? It's like, is this that the other PMSs are developing more of their own apps and then trying to use our entire ecosystem more or less of apps? Is that the counter to Apaleo, basically?
Yeah, I would say that's exactly what it is. It is all in one versus a truly open platform, which would never develop their own apps or components or modules. We will never do that. So we live from that ecosystem and we are totally neutral. Whatever app comes onto our store and wants to integrate to Apaleo, they have all the same opportunity and chance to integrate as deep as they want. When you look at the all-in-one PMSs, they have their own housekeeping apps, their own revenue apps, their own CRMs, whatever. And automatically they are trying to sell and prefer those modules. And they are limiting the access to their APIs to other parties, which is normal. You would do the same thing because you're trying to sell your own apps and make money out of them. We don't do that. So in our ecosystem, we are completely neutral and any app can use the full API integration capabilities. And those are always 100% because all of the APIs we have are available to anybody.
So why? It sounds like full flexibility, you get best of breed, you can choose whatever you want. Why do you think operators still choose the closed shop system? Like what are the main arguments, true or false, but what do they tell you? What are the main arguments?
And I think in the hotel business and industry, you will always have the two camps. You will have open ecosystem, best of breed versus all-in-one systems. So I think that will exist for a long time. I think the arguments are getting everything out of one hand. The people expect to have a better integration between systems and they have one party to call when there are issues, or have one party that does the whole installation, onboarding, and so on. I don't believe anymore that's true today because when you look at the PMS providers that are buying apps and companies left and right, integrating them amongst each other is even harder than do it via open APIs. I mean, it's different technologies, different systems, different people, different customer bases. So to get those acquisitions fully integrated, also technology-wise, has never worked. So for me, it is a battle that will continue to exist and there will be the two camps. However, we see more and more that the open platforms are gaining traction in the market. It started with smaller groups. Nowadays, you have bigger groups that say, we want to go entirely away from buying all in one because the ecosystem and the best of breed gives me more flexibility, innovation. New apps can be exchanged against the old ones if the innovation is there and the new apps are better, and you are fully flexible when the markets change. So we saw that dramatically during the pandemic. Any hotel group, any apartment group, they had to change their business model and become digital and mobile. And with an open platform in the back end, they could actually do this imminently within days. And that is never possible with all-in-one systems.
I get that. But then you mentioned 500 apps, right, in the ecosystem.
300, yes, over 300.
Or 300 apps. Like maybe two questions that come to mind. One is, where do you see still gaps, like in terms of these apps are probably not yet in this area, not yet fully developed, or in this area we have it like so many Me Too's and they're all more or less the same. And then the second is I always think on these app ecosystems for a provider, for an operator, sometimes hard if I have 15 solutions or 15 apps for one thing, this paradox of choice, who should I choose? What is the best solution? So how do you think about this app ecosystem in terms of blind spots, paradox of choice?
So I would say there are commodity apps in the system. And commodity apps are the ones which have existed for a while, categories like OTAs, like channel managers, revenue systems. So they are existing, they are all on the store, and people can freely select which app they want in this area. Now, if the new innovative app comes to the market, they can obviously also integrate, get onto the store, and then try to sell their product and services, which in some cases leads actually to disruptions. And I think we'll come a little bit later to agents and AI. And obviously, one of the biggest disruptions we are seeing is in this field. However, there are some market segments where we see still limitations today. So a lot of these, like online guest journeys, the digital guest journeys, have developed a lot over the past 5 years. So you have a number of providers which all do in their field a great job. They have different functionalities, different geographies they cover, different market segments they cover. But on that side, we have seen a lot of innovation. Where we are still missing, and with a few examples, there are not too many around, is the area of true open CDP, CRM platforms. Most of what you have in the industry today is still very much legacy.
Okay. So it's like you saying trust you with CDPs on the right, kind of at least on the right track of covering that piece that is not yet fully established.
So with all of the RFP presentations and processes we enter, a big question mark goes always around CDP, CRM, because I think the operators and brands realize that what existed in the past is by far not good enough anymore, and they need to move forward in that area. And I think there are some traditional CRMs which cover what we've known for 10, 20 years in the industry. This is not good enough anymore. That doesn't respond to what the modern world in hospitality needs today. It drives towards many different areas and functions other than the pure, how do I deal with the guest in a CRM environment? Doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, so you already mentioned AI and agents, and now we're talking about basically data. CDP, CRM is like the core data around customers, which equals knowledge for the agents. So how do you think about like in general agents, AI, disruption? Like you mentioned, there's going to be a lot of disruption in that space. What role do you think Apaleo will play in that, and what role others will play? And I'll give you my view on this too, but it's like would love to hear your thoughts around that topic, because obviously it's been discussed everywhere.
Right. So I think one of the big advantages we have is that API first means it's also AI first. It is agent first, the platform we have. And we don't have actually to do a lot of things around this, because we are not developing the AI agents ourselves. Again, it's the innovative people out in the field that come to us and integrate with us and do their AI agents on top of Apaleo. So the move from API first to agent first is something we did earlier this year. We started it, and we don't believe in promises. We always want to show what is going on. So we did release the MCP server already in ITB and in the following weeks. So anybody who wants can actually use our backend platform to develop their own agents on top of Apaleo. And funny enough, the first couple of use cases we saw were coming from our customers. So it was the customers, the hotel groups that started that, hired or brought some developers on board, or made call to external digital companies, and then had their own examples, use cases being developed on top of Apaleo. So I see that only with open systems that have the open data possibilities, you can do things like that. Because as soon as your APIs are limited, which it is always with PMS all-in-one companies, the agents cannot make use and execute on any of the functions, features they have to. So there are hundreds of agents that are coming onto the market. We see a lot of good use cases with our customers being rolled out. So not even being piloted or tested, but even being rolled out. But actually, my view on hospitality tech is changing rapidly, and I think I have a new view on where this is going. In the past, everything was centered around the PMS, and maybe with some of the bigger hotel chains around the CRS. So all of the systems, the apps, the modules had to be connected to and interfaced to these systems. Nowadays and in the future, I think it will move to 3 open platforms. One open platform is what we do, transactional data and transactional things, which is not being covered by others. There will be a distribution open API platform where the channel managers and the OTAs connected will move also into a more open environment. And finally, it's CDP CRM. So the third component platform I can see is an open API, API first CDP platform. And those three will openly talk to each other. And now the concept of agents is actually that agents don't have to rely on one of these three systems anymore, but they can also exchange information with each other. It's technically a little bit more difficult, and you can't achieve this with closed systems. But I think with open platforms, that's the way it's happening right now already.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Kind of always open is always better for anyone who wants to develop something on top of it. I see kind of, I have my mental model is first, like for any agent, what's the lowest barrier to entry for an agent? And I call that public knowledge about an operator, about a property. It's like, and what is public knowledge? It's descriptions, amenities, photos, and a lot of reviews. Probably 80% of the content is review content that is for figure out something about a property, about a brand. So that's public content. And then the next frontier is private content, like private knowledge. And what is private knowledge is everything about the guest. It's like every basically transaction the guest has ever done in your hotel, like when did they stay, how often, what did they consume, et cetera, in which room did they stay. And then the last one, once you have those two, the last one is what we call a concept of operator. And I think this is kind of the where you say agents that are communicating, for example, in the PMS that can go in and operate the PMS like a human. I know that Uli, you stayed in room 303 last time. Do you want to stay in the same room? And if you say yes, I book you in the same room as the operator. So those use cases, I think we're going to see pretty soonish in 2026 based on these three concepts.
And and I think it goes even further than that. You're absolutely right. This is something we already see being implemented in some of the brands. However, I think the biggest change will be, and that's why Booking.com and Expedia and the likes are so concerned today, will be also the booking requests and execution of bookings via ChatGPT and other channels. So as soon as you can execute whatever you want to do down to the PMS platform level, and get the information about availability and prices and rooms and anything from the property, this will actually put anybody into the position to go around OTAs and channels and do it in a different way, more direct at less cost. And this is what we are seeing being done already. I mean, ChatGPT has opened up the system to give access as well to some extent already. Booking.com and others are already on that. But we see a lot of innovative smaller companies that actually find their own ways through agent on how to do exactly that. So some of our groups have actually rolled out AI agents that do complete reservation processing for them. So a call being answered by an agent, obviously you have to set the expectations right, and the people need to know that they are talking to an agent, an AI agent. But then anything can happen via that agent. And we see great results where actually down to the booking of the actual reservation, it can be executed very easily. And there are tons of use cases why, for example, a res agent can be very helpful. I mean, overflow of reservations when the reservations department is too busy, calls that come in during night or during the weekends, which an IRS agent can take over. So there are tons of examples for good use cases there.
I see these examples also popping up. Also, the concern I have, I mean, on the one hand side, it's great that these examples come up and we're all experimenting with this. The concern I have is that you have one use case here and they're completely disconnected to the other use case here. The example I often use is this: I'm doing an amazing AI booking agent, AI focus or powered reservation with some agent. And then I'm sending out a booking confirmation email. And in this booking confirmation email, there's a no reply email address. So if I have a follow-up question, I cannot reply to whatever you just sent me. Now I'm going back to some other agent or some other call center that is completely disconnected again to what email you just sent me as a hotel operator or my experience I just had on the booking. So those are still siloed, very siloed experiences. So I'm thinking kind of the big way forward would be if we could communicate, if we can actually translate messages or communication into conversations, and we can have a conversation with a guest on all channels with agents on the other side that are just making it easy, 24/7 available, every language, blah, blah, blah. But it's like everything I send you, you can respond back. Everything you send me, I'll respond back. And it's going to be a conversation and not a message or a communication stream somewhere. So that's, I think that if we could solve that part, then that would be, like the golden grail. And I think it will change the landscape also from technology dramatically. It's like, it's not going to look like this anymore. It's not messaging apps here and then, I don't know, CRMs that send out something there. So it's going to be one kind of system that does conversation powered by.
And I think the potential of agents is definitely in there today. I mean, when you're operating MCP servers and give the AI agents the possibility of pulling the information from any of the systems connected, talking to any of the agents that are in use by a hotel or by a hotel group, then you can actually interchange the information on an ongoing real-time basis. And that puts agents into the position to allow this communication with hotel guests via any channel. I would see actually in the future that some super agents can pop up that actually cover all of that from the entire communication from one single source. And I think it's far easier to do that today than to do that in the past. I mean, for me as an old technology person, I've not seen any faster developments than I've seen over the past 3 months coming up in our industry and in general in technology. So the speed of how these things are being developed and are coming online and offer the possibilities is much faster than ever before, which has advantages, also disadvantages. It also has risks. I mean, you need to be very careful about how you expose data. We've seen a lot of data breaches over the past 6 months, again, in hospitality and travel. So you need to be rock solid in terms of how you provide the platform and the MCP servers with the data that can be exchanged.
Yeah, totally agree. So, Uli, you're visionary for sure. Like you have a very good sense of where the puck is going, not where it is. You just had a pretty big funding round also that I think is public. So, what's next for you guys? What's next for Apaleo? It's like, and where do you see yourself in this ecosystem that you just described and I described in the next, I don't know, 3 years? Not too far out, but not tomorrow. What do you think? What will happen?
So the funding round we received was a year ago almost, and it was pretty big with 20 million. And obviously we got some of the best investors out there, the current ones that joined and a new one. And I think the reason for this is that they see the innovation in the platform, in the API first technology. And the innovation we continue to be working on with our partners and app partners and the ecosystem. But we also have a lot of things we are doing ourselves. So I'll give you one example. Apaleo was always self-service for hoteliers. So any hotel brand, any hotel, they could onboard themselves without interacting with them. This is still existing and will be developed. But in addition, on ITB in March in Berlin, we showed actually an AI implementation agent. This agent does exactly what you described before. It goes out and collects all of the information that is available on a property in the internet, and actually gathering this information, you could set up via an AI agent a property within a couple of minutes. That has never existed before. So the innovation we are saying is make it much easier, make it faster, make it quicker, make it less costly. I mean, we are not sending any invoices for services or implementation or onboarding anyway from Apaleo side. But when you look at how it plays with the ecosystem, you could imagine that a full hotel with all of the apps could be set up within an hour or so in the future, just by using those intelligent agents that do the implementation for you. And the same thing, which we are working on, have been working on a lot over the past year, investing a lot of money and resources, is really becoming more efficient on the operational side. So you obviously have the guest-facing side of AI, which comes into play, but in the back end, there are so many manual procedures operationally still in place at hotels. There's a lot of room to improve there. And again, when you think how many employees are spending time on those procedures instead of talking to the guests, there is a big improvement in sight in terms of services and how you can work with a guest at a hotel level.
Okay, cool, interesting. So I can just add from myself, like, every interaction we have with you guys on the Apaleo side is super cool, not only on the exchanges, but also how we see the industry, how your tech enables us. Whenever someone comes and says, like, can we do an integration between Trust You and Apaleo? It's like, oh yeah, that's an easy one because integration is smooth. You guys are super helpful. I really appreciate this open API first approach, at least for applications like us that work really closely with PMSs. It's a pleasure always to work with you guys and trying to move the industry forward.
Yeah, same from our side. I mean, we appreciate when we talk to modern systems and work with you guys that have the same concept as we have. But I think overall, the industry is recognizing that there are changes coming, and they are coming very fast. I was speaking on the Future Travel Conference last week in Barcelona, which was very interesting. And the feedback we get from the hoteliers and the technology people that were there is that they are tired of trying to get access to closed systems. I think that was the main message that was coming over on Future Travel. And people are saying wherever we can find platform companies, system products that can openly communicate and where we can put our innovation on top, and for the hoteliers to use open tech stacks, I think that drives a lot of change and will in the future even more.
Yeah, I agree. Uli, anything we didn't cover that is important to address, or did we kind of get a good 360 view on?
Yeah, I think we got a good 360 view. What we are doing in Apaleo is also how we believe in technology and the industry. We like to be very open and motivate the apps and the innovators to come to us, which we see happening a lot. But we really have a passion for technology, for innovation, for travel, for hotels, and that drives what we are doing in business.
Cool. Uli, appreciate you coming on. It was a pleasure as always talking to you, even though weird a little bit. I think I never talked to you in English.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
it worked out quite well. Thanks a ton, and good luck in your future endeavors, and safe travels in Berlin and onwards.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite, and I shall see you soon, Ben.
Ja,
Bye.
hopefully. Uli, vielen Dank.
Ciao, bye.
Mach's gut. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.